say yet what we're on?
23. 1 minute 23.
23.
A minute 23. Now it's a
Delay?
minute. Now it's a minute 13. It's counting down till it comes up.
Okay,
Oh, it's not on yet then.
not yet.
Not 7 o'clock yet, though.
It's like TV when we give you the sign.
It starts in 1 minute.
Yeah, this is a full-time production here. I'm telling you, we're running a real show.
Trying to confuse.
Starts me around.
It must be.
That's a good watch.
It's on the computer clock. Live's got a clock on it.
I now call the Norton Council Committee work session to order for Monday, May 15th. The time is 7 p.m. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silent prayer.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Mrs. Richards, will you please call the roll?
Mr. McGlone?
Here.
Mr. Kernan?
Here.
Mr. Pearson?
Here.
Mr. Towsley?
Here.
Mr. Pilot?
Here.
And Ms. Whipke?
Here. That we're getting on with the general topics of discussion. And are there any reports from the committee chairs? First thing up is a moratorium for the driveway culverts. Mr. Kernan?
Thank you, Madam President. We do this every year. Put the moratorium on for the culverts and the, I can't think of the word, the pipe in the ditches.
Tile.
Tile,
Tile,
thank you.
yeah.
It's been a long day. So we do this every year to prevent that from going forward. I had asked the question why we just don't do this permanently, and I guess the answer was because we want to have some freedom to allow it if we need to for some reason or another. So same legislation we've done in the past. I would move to add, is that going to go on to the special for first reading?
Yes.
Okay. So I would move to add that to the agenda for the special council meeting following for its first reading.
We don't have legislation for
Oh, there's no legislation yet? Okay. This is not one of them that's going on that.
That's correct.
Okay.
We could, if you could, just move
Yeah.
it to the next council.
I'll move to place this on the agenda for the next council meeting for its first reading.
Okay.
No second.
I do have one quick question, since we have Mr. White with us. Have you noticed that have made a difference since we did that 2.5 years ago?
Oh, yes, yes. The most important thing is it's freed up some of our maintenance people to do things that are a little more pressing.
But has it helped with the flooding as well, or?
Well, we still have a lot of ditches that were already closed. Really, we need to be taking some of those pipes out to really improve. I mean, it hasn't gotten worse, but it could do better if we started taking some of the pipes out that never should have been put in the first place. But that's a different issue there.
We don't really have an option to do that, do we?
Well, it's a little complicated because a lot of those people paid for that pipe.
Yeah.
Right.
So we haven't gone to that point unless it's really causing a problem, then we try to work with the homeowner.
Point, Mr. Markey. Now, if the city provided a permit for those folks to put it in and we covered it over, aren't we liable to replace any pipe we put in at the city's expense versus them?
No, it's the statute that governs that. Codified ordinance covers that.
Although we approved it? It'd be kind of
Well,
like issuing a
some
zoning
we
permit and
approved,
then
some we
going back.
didn't.
The maintenance responsibility is on the homeowner,
Right.
not on the city.
And that would, now, do we have record, I suspect not, of the size that were put in, what was approved?
Generally, what record we have is they would have pulled a right-of-way permit. In the more recent years, I would say we have better records that would show like what the work was done, particularly if they paid the city to do that work. But most of it's right-of-way permits.
Well, I know in the past, it's always been the policy within this city, going back even 20 years ago, if the resident purchased a pipe, the city would cover it over and do what was necessary to finish the job.
Right.
That's why I wonder if we don't have some liability in that issue if they put in the wrong size. Now, we've talked about this before. Now, there is a standard in place at this point. Should we put pipe in, it's going to be 16, 24. That's the question I'm asking you. There's a standard.
Right now, the way the ordinance is written is you have to get the engineer's permission, and Dave would review that and make sure that whatever, if it was allowed to be put in at all, which it shouldn't, right, it's more nature of the moratorium, but if it was to be allowed, that the engineer would make the determination on what's.
Then we have a form that Dave reviews
And-
with that and signs off.
And it would have to be sized through calculations and a number of things. It's quite an involved process to even determine what size it should be.
So what you're telling me is
Some of the biggest
there-
problems we've had are really, really, really old stuff that was put in years and years ago, so.
And then in recent years, I know up in Hametown, we've allowed people to put in small pipe. Now it's created a problem. That's what I'm asking. Obviously, we had to size it for flow, but there is a certain standard bare minimum we're asking for, correct?
We haven't even established a size to put in because we're not even considering putting them in.
Well, I think we should look at that.
I mean, they're reviewed on a case-by-case basis, and
Yeah.
Mr. White reviews that.
There's no minimum, it's on a case-by-case
Right.
basis.
Right.
Okay. So when did the moratorium first go on?
Was that 2 years ago?
Okay, and has there been any variances or anything during that time, or has it pretty much been, it's been a moratorium and no new pipe has
We
been
really
installed?
haven't had any new pipe go in.
Right,
Okay.
and a few people applied, and we just turned them down.
Okay, all right. Anything else on this one? Anything?
Roll call next.
Yes, please.
Mr. Kernan?
Yes.
Mr. McGlone?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Towesley? Mr. Pelot?
Point of order,
Be the three.
just the
Just be
committee.
the
correct?
committee.
That's right. Yeah, correct.
That'll be on for next Monday's meeting.
Correct.
Item B, the property easement for Chase Bank. Mr. Pearson?
Yes, I would like to move this on to the night's agenda. We can discuss it now, or,
It's fine. Just quickly, this is one of the settlements for Cleveland Maslin Road. One of the agreements we made is to enter into an easement to allow them to have parking within the right-of-way because we've taken enough of their property that it is advantageous for them to have that parking.
right, and I understand it, we're reading Exhibit A, but my question is, we paid the rest of these folks a monetary amount for the property, a value of it. Is this in lieu of paying Chase
In addition
Morgan?
to, I don't have that amount with me. I just don't know offhand.
Yeah, because there was still some, I think, purchase of property or temporary usage, so there was some payment, but this was a caveat of that
We can
as
get the
well.
purchase agreement, that has all the details in it, but
But
there's
that
there's
was,
a purchase
it
price.
was, this is an addition to,
In addition to the right-of-way take, so we're taking right-of-way, and then we're allowing them to have parking
I'm on the
within that
guard
right-of-way
here
that we're
for-
taking. Part of the right-of-way that we're taking.
They're paying us $10 to use our right-of-way.
Well, yeah, the $10 is sort of like a legal,
Right.
consideration.
yeah.
But the
They
question,
want to actually pay $10.
the question being, there is a monetary value of what abuts Cleveland Maslin. That's my question is, what are we valuing the two pieces? We're giving them an easement, okay.
Yeah, so-
Are we reducing what we're paying them by virtue of us granting this? That's the question.
Remember, all the payments are 90% paid by ODOT, so they approve them. So the amount that was approved by ODOT. And I can get that
I mean,
amount.
we'd have to look at the detail
Yeah.
exactly. I don't have that off the top of my head.
So what it really comes down to is we made a deal with them that we will get their property for the right-of-way for X number of dollars, and then you get an easement back on part of that right-of-way.
For parking, correct.
For parking, okay.
And they already have the layout, I mean, the easement has the layout of the parking, and they already have all that figured out. And then there was an agreement, just as a final detail, just to allow a sign variance, because of the way that they're configured now, it wouldn't technically meet our code for signs, so.
A little off subject, question for you, Mrs. Card. I haven't seen those plans, but we'll be coming down Gardner off of Cleveland Maslin, what, 50 feet? How far? Because the area we're talking about on the south side, are there buildings in horrible, I won't say horrible, deplorable condition? I mean, will that be paid by the state and taken care of?
Well, we are going down Gardner. I'd have to check again how many feet. What is deplorable, the
Because it's
roadway, you
on
said?
in that agreement, in the bottom, very last paragraph, it states they'd be responsible for. Now, how far is the state going down? Any cost to us involved in
Are
that?
you talking
or
about
will-
the roadway, Mr. Pearson?
Yeah, I'm talking
That's
about
that's what I'm
Gardner
trying to
Boulevard.
clarify, the roadway. I don't know, we can look at those plans tomorrow, Dave, and.
I glanced at
look-
that because they're responsible for so much, and it's relatively broad in what's stated here, so that's why I like
Yeah,
clarification.
I think their
Our work
responsibility.
our work would only be in the right-of-way, which would be Gardner Boulevard, basically.
Right, but how far down Gardner? Because their property extends to the length of what we're discussing here. And that's why I say it's vague in the description. That's why I just like clarification.
And their agreement is to maintain sort of the parking, the surface parking within that easement. I don't think they would have roadway responsibility. It would just be the parking that they.
Okay, so curbs, et cetera, would be our,
Oh, yeah, that's all ours.
all right, very good. Let's,
One
I'm
more
sorry,
thing.
Paul, go
Just,
ahead.
just for my curiosity,
Yeah.
if the landowner were to change there, does the agreement continue with the next landowner?
You with the next landowner. And that's part of why they were asking, because we could get the agreement now, say, hey, if we have parking, we could say yes, but it wouldn't carry forward. So that's what they want, is to make sure that they have some
Okay.
carry forward value of that parking.
Thank you.
Yep.
okay, well, I'd like to move this on to the special for this evening. Can I get a second on this?
I'll second.
Carla, if you would, please. Carla, if you would, please.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
And Ms. Whipke?
Yes. Moving on, item C are budgetary transfer items. There's actually 4 of these. They all fall to me. Are we going to move these forward singly, or can I move them forward
It's just to the agenda.
as a
Yeah, to
consent?
the agenda, it could be a group motion, a batch
A
motion.
consent agenda,
Roll call,
okay.
yeah.
I'll go over them briefly, just to clarify for everybody. These will all need, already have ER language, emergency language, and we're going to put them on the agenda hopefully tonight for the first reading and to pass them next Monday and waiving the third reading due to the fact that these are the monetary things, and we need to get these done before the end of the month. And they just came in, some of them just this past Monday did we receive them. But the first one was approving the budget appropriation. We need to increase that by $500,000 to the transfer budget for various funds, mostly for the road fund, to be able to cover it so that we can put it into the roads. And then a transfer ordinance to move the general funds to cover the funds that are attached to Exit A for the various funds. And then we have a self-insured fund, number 600, that goes way back. We are no longer self-insured, so we're going to be looking at doing away with this and putting this money into the general fund. The state auditors have asked us to do that, cleaning up some of our book work, just as we've done for like the Brentwood plant and for the mayor's court once they were defunct. And then there's the then and now certificates that we need to get cleared out, paying for the invoices on things that we've already approved, just to make sure we get them done. Again, we're making auditors happy and keeping our books up to date. Is there anything else you'd like to add to that, Mr. Messner?
Nope, good job.
Question, Mr. Mester, all these funds have to go to the general fund or can be delegated to other funds?
I'm sorry?
Can we ear tag these for funds of our choosing, or is there any regulation they have to go into the general fund?
Basically,
I guess with the insurance one, I'll be specific.
It's self-insured.
Right.
Is what he's asking.
Oh,
The
no,
125 goes somewhere else.
no, the 125 goes back into the general fund, it goes into the transfer budget.
And that's by state
That's
law.
state law.
Okay, that was my
Yeah.
point.
Any other questions?
And that's all that was in it, was the $125.
That's correct, and it has, I've gone back and looked 5 or 6 years. I don't know when we were self-insured last, but it's been on the books for a long, long time, and the auditors just felt like, what's the use of, for $125, you might as well clean it up and pull it back, so.
I make a motion to add that for tonight's agenda.
I'll second.
Ms. Whipke?
Yes.
Mr. Pelot?
Yes.
And Mr. Towesley?
Yes.
Next item up, the rezoning PC resolution R1 2017. Mr. Kernan?
Thank you, Madam President. This is the rezoning of the property up on 261. It's been through Planning Commission. They approved it and sent it back on to us. Any questions, any discussion regarding that? Yeah, the property's been used as a business for years. I don't know that it's currently being used as a business, but before that it was for a long time.
Why are we waiving the fees? $400 and some odd dollars.
Sure. We've been working with the property owner for a year or so, trying to figure out what happened with this property. We believe that it should have been, it's reflected in some of our planning documents as a B2. It's reflected on the current map as R1. We think it's a mistake. It should have been listed as a B2. And just somewhere along the line, the zoning map just was incorrect. I don't know if it was during the zoning change that got referendum. I have no idea when it happened, but we're of the firm belief that it was administrative error. But we have to go through the process to change the map. You can't just change the map.
So there was some inconsistency in our own records, and so we're cleaning up our own records as
Our
much as doing
2006
that.
comprehensive plan shows that current
Okay.
use is currently zone B2, right? And so we have, but we don't have a lot of maps that go back
Right.
in history.
Okay.
Oh, we have current maps. And
Right.
So we can't piece it together.
And so since the city kind of initiated it, then that's why the fees are waived?
Correct.
Okay. Anything else? I move to add this to, we're going to add this to the next regular meeting for first reading.
No second.
We're not putting this on for tonight?
It doesn't say that.
We don't have legislation for that. I don't think-
No, we had, Carla and I are working on it, but I don't think
We
it's in.
I got to set up a timeline too for the public
Right,
hearing.
'cause
and
there's gonna be-
notices
yeah.
for the paper, so
So we're going to have the first reading, then a public hearing, then the second reading, and...
second reading.
Yeah.
And if you wish, you could have
Waive the
adopted
third.
at that time.
Yeah,
if you
okay.
want to.
So there was a motion to, was there a second?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Call the roll, please.
Yes, Mr. Kernan?
Yes.
And Mr. McGlone?
Yes.
And Mr. Pelot?
Yes.
Sorry, Scott.
Unfinished business, is there any unfinished business come before council?
I just have one. Valerie, I saw on 224 there's high water that's been happening over that one section. Is that something caused by us, or is that from the construction company?
It is a construction company issue.
Okay.
We actually had, well, John probably could describe it better if he was here, John D'Alessandro. There was actually some hydroplaning
Yeah, I knew that,
of
yeah.
it. So we have been talking with ODOT. They are correcting that problem, and so we should not see that going forward, because that is a safety.
So I assume we've never had that problem until this construction started.
Well, it appears, and Dave, I don't know if you were out, you went out there with.
Yes, I went out there with
Sorry.
Chief.
He might be able to give you a little bit more.
So yes, it was definitely the contractor created that problem, and they actually corrected it that day.
Okay.
So it was an oversight on their part. They didn't think that it's part of the erosion, a combination of things out there that they just, some erosion control things overflowed and went across an access to a staging area they had that just sent the water out onto the roadway.
Okay.
And it's something they didn't anticipate, but they've gone in there and fixed it so that won't happen.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Yeah, on item, follow up on there, we had asked about the 500 letters that went out on zoning complaints. What's the disposition on that?
Okay, I don't know that, with looking at that, I don't believe there was 500 letters that went out. I believe that was 500 complaints They were looked into. Letters that needed to go out have gone out. And then some that the zoning inspector had gone out and talked to, if restitution or if changes were made that needed to be made, then it was rendered without letters and so forth.
But those people are in compliance now.
Some.
Right, there's, if I may, Mayor.
Yeah.
The mayor's correct, those are 500, it was, I think, 551 or 515, I forget the number, complaints or calls or issues that had to be followed up on. We keep statistics on that, so that's what we were reporting. Some could have been as minor as, hey, you need to mow your grass, and they didn't mow their grass, and so in 7 days we mowed the grass, and then it gets assessed, those kind of things. I can tell you last week alone, I dealt with Bill in probably 7 tree issues that we had. So those are the kind of things that we keep statistics on.
But then if they mow, then it's problem solved and it's done.
Right,
over with.
right. A lot of times it's just one interaction and then the problem gets corrected.
Right. Okay.
Anyone else? New business, is there any new business come for council? Okay, just to point it out, public updates is no longer on the agenda. I felt it was redundant. Anything that we would address there can be addressed under new and unfinished business. There was a Madden DAC meeting last Thursday, May 11th, and just for everyone's information, I handed my resignation in as being a member on the MAD DAC Board Council. And that will be effective after the next appointment for the Norton board member is made. And hopefully we'll have applications in and have the interviews and make the appointment June 15th. And after, we'll be looking to make another appointment to take my place. And I'm not really looking to do that until after our Ward 1 representative is seated next month. Anyone else?
Madam President, if I may, I have a couple of them that I'd like to go over. This week is Law Enforcement Memorial Week. On the counter over here, we have a plaque of Patrolman Dallas Jackson. He was actually killed in the line of duty back on October 25th, 1973. He was actually responding to a call of a child emergency and suffered a heart attack and I think hit a utility pole at Cleveland Massillon and Greenwich Road. He is currently on the National Officers Memorial Wall in Washington, D.C., but himself, as well as in the plaque itself, was a memorial presented by the FOP Norton Lodge 119. In addition, though, basically, we were just asked to keep all the law enforcement memorial candidates or recipients in our thoughts this week. That's one. I've got the Funky Truckeria. I don't know if you're all aware, but it has received a first place. There was approximately 15,000 votes cast, and out of the 15,000 votes, there were a total of 10 candidates or 10 companies that, and the Funky Truckeria claimed 36% of the 15,000 votes for first place, Best Tacos in Greater Cleveland. And also just want to let you know that the Beltane Festival was this past weekend, and I think I was down there at the opening ceremonies, was down there for a little bit at the beginning of it. It's my understanding that it all pretty much went off without a hitch. Also, I would like to announce that for Norton, the Memorial Day celebration, excuse me, on Monday, May 29th, Norton 2018 Bicentennial Committee will be hosting Memorial Day celebration at Williams Park. The event will start at 1 p.m. There'll be parking at Cornerstone Elementary and at the Crawford Insurance Agency. Williams Park, named in honor of former Mayor Edward Williams, who died on Memorial Day of 1981 while delivering an annual Memorial Day address. The Norton 2018 Bicentennial hopes that this year's event will be a start of a new tradition on this important day in our community. There is a host of things that will go on during that event, such as the singing of the national anthem by the Norton High School student Alyssa Bussin, a Voice of Democracy readings by Norton High School students Jonathan Walton and Ryan Longoria, a guest speaker and presentations of colors by the Kenmore American Legions, and a performance of taps by Norton High School band members. Thank you to all who have made the ultimate sacrifice serving our country and protecting our freedoms. We look forward to a great event and honoring all those who have served. So if you are free that day, please come out and join us. That's all I have at this time.
Topics for the next work session, which will be June 5th.
June 5th.
Well, if anybody comes up with something, let us know. Public comments.
No one had signed up.
Okay, we don't have any. That said, special council meeting will be immediately following this meeting, and we are adjourned at 7:24. Try and give a minute anyway. I now call the Norton Special Council meeting to order for Monday, May 15th, 2017. The time is 7:25. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silent prayer. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Mrs. Richards, will you please call the roll?
Mr. McGlone?
Here.
Mr. Kernan?
Here.
Mr. Pearson?
Here.
Mr. Towsley?
Here.
Mr. Pelot?
Here.
And Ms. Whipke?
Here. New business, Committee of the Whole, Ordinance 48, 2017. Mr. Pearson.
Yes, I would like to introduce ordinance 48, 2017 for its first reading. Carla, would you please read that?
Yes. An ordinance determining to grant an easement over certain city-owned property in connection with the Cleveland-Maslin Road widening project and declaring an emergency.
Okay, I'd like to waive the second and third reading. Get a second on that?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Kernan. Mrs. Richards, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Kernan?
Yes.
Mr. McGlone?
Yes.
Mr. Towsley?
No.
Mr. Pelot?
Yes.
And Ms. Whipke?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt said ordinance.
I'll second.
Carla, if you would, please.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Kernan?
Yes.
Mr. McGlone?
Yes.
Mr. Towsley?
Yes.
Mr. Pelot?
Yes.
And Ms. Whipke?
Yes. Ordinance 49, 2017. I offer ordinance 49, 2017 for the first reading. Ask clerk to read it, please.
An ordinance to amend the appropriations for the current expenses of the City of Norton for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2017, and declaring an emergency.
First reading only. Ordinance 50, 2017. I offer it for the first reading and ask clerk to read it, please.
An ordinance authorizing transfers from the general fund for calendar year 2017 and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. I offer ordinance 51, 2017 for first reading. Ask clerk to read it, please.
An ordinance authorizing a transfer from the self-insurance fund 600 to the transfer account of the general fund 001.
Thank you. Ordinance 52, 2017. I thought I was going to give that one to you, Joe. I offer ordinance 52, 2017 for its first reading. Ask clerk to read it, please.
An ordinance authorizing the issuance of then and now certificates pursuant to Section 5705.41D of the Ohio Revised Code and declaring an emergency.
first reading only. A regular council meeting is scheduled for May 22nd, 7 p.m. next week. There being no further business come before council, this meeting is adjourned at 7:28.